Welcome to episode 50 of the Face the Future podcast. It's your boy Mills.
It's your boy Shan.
Big Moose, man. St. Martin Moose in the house was good.
St. Martin Moose. I ain't even mad at you, bro. I ain't mad at you at all.
What you sipping on? You got a little something in your cup. You got the sun in your face. You got the bandana on your head. Glasses.
White in my cup right now. The view is gorgeous. I'm about to give the fans what it's looking like real quick. This joint's way too nice for real. Oh man.
This man here.
Nah, this joint looks
Wow. Beautiful.
I'm not coming back. We doing Zoom calls for the rest of the podcast.
I'm jealous. I ain't gonna cap. I'm jealous.
Me and Shan need to book our flight out there ASAP. You know?
Yeah.
But Captain, it's real nice out here. Like, just the environment. People are mad nice. You know, like, the food is good. You know what I'm saying? The restaurant is decent. And it's a really nice, like, it's beautiful.
You said it's beautiful out there? The sun glistening on you?
Beautiful.
But I need to slide out there ASAP, bro. ASAP. Like, I might have to slide out there for the birthday.
Yeah, facts. It's nice.
Cheap too. So it's not even like, as long as you book it like at least like 2 months before, like if you start looking at it now, you should be able to get it for a good price.
Oh yeah? Like the round trips ain't that crazy?
But my ticket, I only bought a one way, and that was for like $80.
Bro said the one way. I'm weak. I feel you. I mean, had no plans of coming back.
I seen it, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't think I could come back, yo. Just even look at the apartments. Like, I'm staying with my shorty right now. Like, the apartments that she's staying in is nice as hell, son. It's just, I don't get it. She got private beach, pool. I don't know.
Yo, try to take your AirPods out there real quick. I want because your joint like delaying a little bit. Yeah. Unsync them joints. Just talk without them joints in.
You?
Yeah, you better now.
Yep. Oh, it's better? Yeah, nah. I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to come back, especially after this week. All that shit that I seen. I don't think I'm coming back.
Yeah, man. It's crazy out here in the States, boy.
That's what I'm trying to say. What was it? You over there chilling, you over there, you know what I'm saying, enjoying life. And you turn on your phone, you turn on the TV, and you see people going crazy in Washington. What was your thoughts when y'all saw that out there?
Nah, it was nuts. So like I was working, and so like I got a joint on my phone from CNN. They talking about people have broke into the White House. Into the state capitol. I'm like, all right, these niggas is capping. Go on Twitter. Oh nah, they broke into the state capitol building. And I'm looking. I see the video. I'm like, oh nah, they really wildin'. And the first thing I thought was like, damn, it's that easy to get into the Capitol building? Like, that shit was way too easy. It was way too easy for my liking. But it was just wild. Like, I was just watching everything unfold, and I was just looking. I was like, this shit is fucking nuts, man. Over an election that, like, this nigga lost. This shit is weird, bro. White people are weird.
Let me ask y'all this. So were y'all surprised when so like the series of events for people that weren't paying attention, but I think everybody was paying attention. The series of events where so it started off where basically Trump's vice president denied his plea to like for the recount for the election, all that stuff, and basically confirmed that Joe Biden was the winner of the presidential election. And then you go to Twitter and Trump calling out Pence saying he wasn't built like him, all this nonsense. What was your thoughts on that first step that like kind of like
big mad?
That kind of like
big mad.
That ass.
Just take your L and keep it moving, bro. Just take your L and keep it pushing. It's all right. You lost. It's okay. Try again in 2024 if you want to run again. But for now, you lost. Stop being a sore loser.
You right, Shannon, but I'm looking at it from an actual like political standpoint. That nigga, like, this dictatorship is coming, bro. Like, on a serious note, like, this dictatorship is coming because it's
who?
Like
dictatorship for who?
From who? Biden?
For Trump.
So you think these last 12 days, 10 days I meant, you think he gonna pull that off?
It's not. I don't think he's going to pull a dictatorship in 12 days, but I think that this is going to be the start of something that's going to end up being prolonged a lot more than we think. Because like we think that it's just going to be, yeah, he lost, we have 12 days left, but it's not just going to be a 12-day thing. Like he had like 10,000 people broke into the state capitol, bro.
They didn't break in, bro.
People.
They didn't break in though. That's the thing. That's what people have to realize. They didn't break in. It was literally
They were let in.
They were let in. Like it was a planned thing.
Yeah, I mean, when you put it like that, yeah. But when I say break in, I mean it from yeah, it was planned. But when I mean break in, it was from a standpoint of like these people got in and they went and essentially destroyed the state capitol building where all your senators and your legislators make your lives better. And I say that because it's like they weren't allowed to be in Nancy Pelosi's office. Like most people should not be. Like it's one thing if y'all went in and y'all was in the main lobby protesting, but niggas was in Nancy Pelosi's office making beats. Niggas was going around senators' offices just chilling. And that's what I mean. I say that they broke in because you're not even supposed to have that level of access. You know what I mean? Like unless you work there. So it's like me saying that they broke in. It's like they broke into like a bunch of senators' offices and just like, yeah, nah, fuck it. And what's scary about it is that, like I said, 10,000 people went in. And for me, just looking at how this country is, you don't really need a lot of people to start a revolution. Like,
nah, you don't at all.
And I think that because of how this country is moving now, especially with Trump and how he's dog whistling people, he's using the signaling and in speeches, he's starting something that's not just going to end for these next 4 years. Like this shit is going to come back again. And I think people are not looking at it like that because it's just like Trump lost the election. But it's a lot similar to how Hitler came into power as well, like 10 years prior. And that's what makes this shit super scary. And people don't really look at it like that.
I won't say you're wrong with that in terms of like it's signaling the way he does stuff and like the implications that may occur like post like the inauguration and stuff like that. But I don't know how long necessarily is gonna last in terms of like them keeping up what they're doing. Cause I feel as though like it all depends on what happens to him after the inauguration, after he's not the president anymore, if he gets arrested, whatever happens with the charges that they bring to him, that type of thing. That brings me to my next question to both of you. What do you think is gonna happen after the transition finally happens? Or do you think he's gonna get impeached prior? Because they're talking about impeachment. Let me ask you that first. Do you think that's gonna happen?
I think they're going to try their best to get it done. And I think that people need to realize if he gets impeached, he can't run in 2024. He loses a lot of privileges and stuff if he does get impeached, like for real. He won't even be able to run again. If he wants to run in 2024, if he gets impeached, he won't be able to do that. I think after all this is like blown over a little bit, I think he's still going to get hit with that RICO charge coming out of that Southern District Court in New York. Because if they're coming for you, they're going to get you. If they're coming for you, they have something on you and they're going to get you. At least what we've seen throughout history, how they get down. So that's what I think could happen to him. But we'll see. I mean, he got a arrest warrant issued from Iraq. So this is a bunch of weird stuff going on.
I didn't know that.
For killing that dude over there.
Oh, yeah.
I think I think that there's going to be a recount. I think that he's going to stay in office for a little while longer. I don't think he's leaving in 16 days. I think they're going to do some type of recount somehow, some way. That's number one. Number two, I think that the Democrats are not trying to do the impeachment, not because of the fact that they don't want to impeach him, but I think that process is going to take a little bit longer and a lot more time than what they really need. Because what they really need to focus on is the pandemic, getting people their bread and helping out the small businesses. So them at the same time handling Donald Trump is going to take up a lot more time that they have to handle what we as regular citizens need versus like, okay, we need to get Trump out of jail, make sure he doesn't run again. Because the reality is that like if Trump goes to jail for X amount of time, he's still going to be able to run out and still create some type of revolution. And I keep pointing this out about this concept of a revolution because it's like, we're not like, I'm not saying you guys aren't, but like, I think the people are just looking at it as well. We find Joe Biden as the president. We don't care. But it's like, once again, going back to what you were saying, Miles, it's like, this is only going to be as long as much as we tolerate it. And so like, because we keep tolerating it and they're like, oh yeah, he did this, it's fine. or 10,000 people broke in. Okay, it's cool. Like, this is how revolutions start, because we continue to tolerate things that shouldn't be tolerated in the first place.
I think
that
not to cut you off. I think it's not so much that we're like just necessarily like tolerating it. I think it's more so that people may claim to take it serious, but I don't think people are really taking it as serious as I think they should, in my opinion. Like, just based off of conversation and just like the way people have been reacting to it. Yeah, they're like, oh, how this happened. Obviously, they're making the connections to like how people were treated during like the Black Lives Matter movement and stuff like that. But they're not really looking at it to the point, like when you look at revolutions in other countries, whether it's like in like a Cuba or even like when Hitler took over reigns in Germany, like you said, how things started there. It's like you said, started off very similar ways, where people infiltrating, like showing that they have the ability to infiltrate certain areas that they shouldn't infiltrate, that type of thing, and people not taking it serious, and then it just kind of like just, I don't know, dominoes into just a bigger thing faster than we expect, and then it gets so big that we can't control it anymore. And what I mean by that is like how soon do you think something like that could potentially happen? Are we talking like 1 year, 3 years? Like,
it's going to be the course of years. And I think like when I say people aren't tolerating it, I say this from a sense of this. It's like, Trump should be in jail. He should go to jail for a very long period of time. He needs to find some way to not be able to come back into the U.S. He shouldn't be given access to a lot of different things he normally has as a businessman and as a politician. But because we know how like people are not really going to look at it, people are like, yeah, Trump is out of office, it's whatever. You know what I mean? They're just going to say, oh yeah, he's out of office when he finally gets out, and we're just going to all kind of forget about him. But that shouldn't be it, because this is how racism has started. This is how like things like the KKK lasted for so long, because it's like the stuff that we shouldn't tolerate and we should take seriously. We're just like, well, it's over now. Oh, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 passed. It's over. But we just let somebody in office that knew how to dog whistle and use certain code words to promote racism, to promote xenophobia, to promote a lot of different things that shouldn't have been promoted. And that's why it's like, you're right, people aren't taking this seriously. And the thing is that like, we really should, like, I really keep saying this, we really need to find a way to get rid of this BS quickly, because this is going to be a bigger thing than what we're looking at it as. And if we don't take it seriously now, when midterms come up, it's going to be another thing, because the Democratic Party is already going to start having problems. Next thing you know, the Republicans are going to come back. When it's time to re-elect, it's going to be an even bigger problem. And we're just kind of like, it's whatever, Trump's out of office. And so that's my biggest thing. And I don't, like, you're right, Miles, like, people are not taking it seriously and not really thinking about this shit the way that they should be. And this is really, 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 really dangerous.
Dan, let me go ahead.
I'm saying like what is going on here? Like, when I was watching this unfold, it's almost like a Twilight Zone moment. You know what I mean? Like, what is going on? This isn't like a Walmart or a Target or a Kohl's that people are going into. This is the United States Capitol building, where laws are made and passed, where the powers that be in this country come to make the most powerful decisions on the behalf of all of its citizens. What the fuck is going on here? And then you see, the police are opening the barricades, waving people in. You see Trump just sitting back and watching the whole thing. You see people walking around the Capitol building with Confederate flags.
Mad disrespectful.
You know what I mean? With Confederate flags, taking senators' mails from their office. You see all this kind of crazy, and it's like, yo, what the fuck is going on in this country? What is going on? You see people with Civil War shirts on, so it's just like, it was really like a Twilight Zone moment. I really don't know what to think about what the fuck is going on, because how did that shit happen? I'm trying to wrap my mind around how it happened. What was going on? Who organized it? You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask y'all this. Did y'all see like the footage, the post footage after, how like Trump and everybody was like in those tents? Kind of
just
like
watching it.
Just watching it happen. Like, what when y'all saw that, what was y'all thoughts about that? Were you like, what the hell? Or like kind of something you expected? Or
what the fuck? What the fuck are you doing? Do something. You're the fucking president of the United States. People are storming the Capitol building where people that work for you work. you're putting their lives in danger, and you just sitting back watching with music playing in the background like it's all good. And then you come out and make a statement, and the first thing you say out of your mouth after people stormed the United States Capitol building, the first thing out of your fucking mouth is, we won the election by a landslide. It wasn't even close. That's the first thing you say. That's the first thing you say. It's like, yo, what the fuck is going on here?
Honestly, yo, I seen it, and it's like, I really wasn't surprised. And it's like, I said this on Twitter, and I know I was being funny about it, but it's like, I've been preaching this for a minute that, like, Trump has really been trying to plan a revolution since, because he knows that he can't do nothing. He knew he was going to lose. Everybody around him knew he was going to lose. The Republicans only tolerated him because he gave them the power to be in office and to make certain moves that they wanted to make. So it's like, outside of that, it was just like, they didn't really care what he did. They just gave him the opportunity. You know, they gave them the opportunity. And so, like, when all this stuff started happening, like, when I see even the BLM situation happen, when he started putting military tanks in certain places, when, you know, people were getting kidnapped left and right, when people were going to jail, people getting killed, I was like, yo, like, this man is really trying to plan a dictatorship to keep white people in power, to keep people that look like him in power. So, like, when all this was really happening, I was really looking like, yo, like, I was more surprised about the fact of how easy it was for them to get in rather than the fact that it actually happened. Because I really looked at them like, yo, like, it just didn't make sense. Like, and the only thing, I'll say this, the only thing that surprised me was that there was other legislators that were there in the crowd breaking into the state capitol. Like, there was a legislator from Pennsylvania that was even there. You know what I'm saying? I forgot his name, but like, so many different legislators were there, and it's like, these are the people that you put into office. These are the people that look like us that we have to sit here and call for complaints. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, this is where, like, as African Americans, we either need to, one, either continue to run for office and put ourselves in these positions and put ourselves in proper positions, or two, we just need to get the fuck out of here, because shit is not getting better for anybody. That's why I'm living here in St. Martin. Like, I'm not coming back, like, at all. Like, this shit is nuts.
Let me ask you this.
Do y'all think that he's real quick, Nose? Do y'all think that he's intentionally doing all this before Biden takes office to give him a bunch of bullshit to deal with?
I don't even think it's more so just a bunch of bullshit. I think it's more so it's
chaos.
It's chaos that he probably had planned. Like, if I'm not winning, then this is what's gonna happen. I want to show you that I still have control. I still have this type of power. If I really want to make something happen, I can make. I think he kind of just wants to show that he's still a threat, whether he's in office or not. I feel like that's kind of like his main motive, and like kind of like to not transition from what you asked for, was kind of like in the same thought. I wanted to ask y'all, like, do you think this is like a ploy more so for like white supremacy, or more so an attack on the government system as it is, and he wants to change it?
He wants to change it I think it could be an attack on both, because I think what it did was just show how easy it is to start a revolution, like y'all talking about. I think he showed how easy it is for people that support him, that are willing to go out and do shit like that without any regard.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a mix of both. He's intentionally delaying a lot of things so Biden doesn't really get a good transition. For example, I know, like, there's the nuclear pact that the U.S. and Russia has. By the time that Joe Biden comes into office, if he comes into office on time, he'll have 4 days to reenact that pact with Russia. If not, they'll be able to, you know, shoot nuclear missiles, test nuclear missiles, however they please, right? And that's an issue. North Korea, they're also planning on coming back and doing things with nuclear missiles as well. They've been talking about, you know, ramping up their nuclear power, whatever. And so, like, I think that, like, in addition to that, you also consider the fact that, like, he didn't initially sign over the transition of power to Joe Biden immediately. So things like the coronavirus pandemic and other things as well, Joe Biden wouldn't have access to. So I think he is intentionally trying to sabotage the beginning of Joe Biden's career, his presidential campaign or presidential term. But I do also think that, in a sense, he's trying to enforce white supremacy, because that's what he ran on originally. And I don't think that he's intentionally doing it because he is a white supremacist, but because of what he stands for in terms of keeping America a status quo. he's intentionally pushing white supremacy.
What's it intentionally? But I know what you mean. What I was about to say, yeah, like when it comes to the white supremacy thing, like in the status quo, do you think that's because that's what those people kind of like see America as, essentially, the people that are behind him, and that's why he's continually to push that narrative? And
Absolutely.
you guys think that's what it is?
Those
And,
people that he incites, his true supporters, whatever this man says, they're going to fucking do it. If he says, go to your respective city, storm all your Capitol buildings, they will fucking do it in droves and mass amounts of people.
And that's what I was gonna ask you, because like, yeah, it was the Capitol that the nation, the Capitol building, whatever building that got stormed. But what if that, like you just said, what if he were to give like some type of call, some type of signal to do that in every state, where they just overthrow the Capitol buildings or whatever may be, the legislative buildings in those respective capitals in each state, and they're just holding everybody hostage till they get what they want.
I mean, it was happening on the 6th. I mean, there was some states across the country that were having people protest outside their Capitol building. It was like a nationwide thing. I mean, the other places didn't really get talked about that much because it was crazy really in DC, but it was happening. Not to that same magnitude, but it was definitely happening in some form. These people,
Yeah,
they have no regard. They don't give a fuck.
they don't like it's weird. It's like white people don't, how do I want to say this? I think a lot of the white people who have this rhetoric don't really understand the true foundation of this country. They have been brainwashed by, marketing that is pushed as America's the best country in the world. America's this wonderful place, and it's not really the case, And I think that because of how like America has marketed themselves to these people, they start to look at themselves as these great people. And because, they have people that look like them that are there, they don't want that to change, and they get frightened. And because they get frightened, it's anger. Like going back to like my example of like how anger comes about. Like I said this like weeks ago or like months ago. I forgot what episode. Maybe it was last season. But it's like when people are afraid, they do react in anger sometimes. And so I think that a lot of these white people are also very much afraid that like they're losing what they thought was their country. This is not me saying that I agree with them. This is me also just trying to say of like, this is what happens when you have people being afraid of like assimilating or not being the majority. There was an article I read for school like a couple years ago about how there was a country, like a town in Pennsylvania that was originally white. White was the majority, and as like the years progressed, it became more of a minority town where there was a lot more Spanish people, there was a lot more Black people, and as a result, these white people got very afraid, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I feel so out of place. Like this is so scary." And they were using these rhetorics, and I'm like, "There's only Black people living here." But then it also gave me the thought of why a lot of these white people act the way that they do when it comes to situations like this. Like they're afraid that like things is going to change forever and they don't know how to like cooperate. Like it's really a first world problem that they have. It's like the same shit that y'all did to Africa, y'all did to Haiti, the Caribbean. It's happening to y'all now and y'all don't know how to react because your ancestors put you in a position. Like, to be honest with you, this is y'all karma for the same shit that y'all did to us. And it's not even like a bad karma in the sense of like y'all are being enslaved. Like at the end of the day, you're just gonna see more Black people probably dugging and doing the nay, and that's really much it. Like you're not gonna really have anything really crazy in that situation. And that's what's just funny about like this whole thing is just like they're just afraid that like they're not gonna be able to see their white America the way they see it anymore.
When you say that the majority is going to change, do you feel like it's just going to be in certain areas, or you think it's going to be just across the nation as a whole?
There was a I don't know where I read this like a couple years back, but they said by like 2030, 2040 that Caucasian Americans are going to be the minority of the country by race. And the minority is not just like Black people, Black, Spanish, Asians are going to be they're going to be the majority. And so when you look at situations like that, it's it comes to a place where it's like they're scared about the fact of like they don't know how they're going to adapt because they've never been the people to adapt, if that makes sense. So I think
Well, for real. But Not what you said. He said that they're gonna become the minority or whatever. What do you think about that
Mhm.
though, Shan? Do you think he's kind of right on target with it, or
Um, I'm not sure, to be honest. I never really thought about it, but I kind of want to say no, just because of those southern states and how big they are, and how many white people live in those southern states, and plus like those midwestern countries. I don't see them being the minority ever.
I don't see like the like you said the Midwest. I don't really see them being the minority when it comes to. But I understand what you're saying in terms of like if you're talking about race as a whole. Yeah, obviously because our country's obviously a big melting pot, and there's always going to be influx of immigrants, people coming in and out, whatever it may be. So when it comes to numbers sake, I think what he was trying to say is like there's gonna be way more minorities as a whole. Not like saying like, oh, there's gonna be way more black people than white people, way more Asians than black people individually. I think as a collective, like between the Asian population, Latino,
Mm-hmm.
Spanish population, and black population, is gonna be there's gonna be more of us than like white people as a whole. But I mean, kind of how he said when it came to the them not knowing how to adapt, I kind of agree with that. I'm not kind of. I really agree with that because, like you
Yeah,
said, over time, just history, them coming in, taking over different countries or whatever it may be, the people that live there, whether it's Native Americans, whether it's black people that got enslaved, were the ones that really had to change and adapt. And I feel as though that's why we don't really fold under pressure when it comes to certain things. Like even when we go back to the protests as a whole, when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement, even though we were getting like uh tear gas, they're getting beaten, whatever it may be, black people as a whole, we don't ever fold. And that's just been over the time. And now that you see like the white people protesting was the Capitol, whatever, they didn't get anything. The treatment wasn't anywhere as severe as it was to the movements of Black Lives Matter, and they're over there tripping. It's like, bro, y'all didn't even endure anything half of what we done. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. It's like y'all are protesting because the guy that you want to be in office isn't in office, and black people are protesting because people are tired of social injustices, getting killed by the police, racial profiling, all these things that mean so much more than at the end of the day who's in office. You know what I'm saying?
that's a
And
fact.
as far as like the going to it, like adapting, I agree with that as well, because it's like they haven't wanted to adapt to us ever. How many you've seen in all through civil rights them fighting back against the laws that we're trying to get passed to vote? You talk about the Voting Rights Act of 1964. My dad was born in 67. You know what I'm saying? When you put it into perspective like that, it sounds crazy. You know what I mean?
Sounds
My
super
dad
crazy.
isn't even 60 years old yet. And he was born 3 years after black people were finally allowed to vote in this country. So that just shows you how we're still like kind of at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to being treated as equals in this country. You know what I mean? And I feel like people make it such a race thing when it comes to like these presidential elections and stuff like that. You know, you don't want to see black people have the upper hand or whatever the case. But at the end of the day, we're all Americans.
Yeah.
We're all Americans. We should all want our country to run as best as it can be for all of our sakes. So that's why all of this stuff, when I see it, it's like it's exhausting, it's frustrating, and you just never know. You don't know what's going to go on. Like seeing them storm the United States Capitol building. I'm going to keep saying it so people understand. The United States Capitol building. It's not thrown over some supermarket or some store. It's the United States Capitol building. That should never be allowed to happen. And then
Ever.
you have to go to the rhetoric of, well, if it was a bunch of Black Lives Matter protesters going to throw over the Capitol, what would have happened then?
Oh,
You
it
know,
would have been bodies everywhere. Like it wouldn't even been
exactly
like question.
right. It's like a no brainer. How is it possible that the United States Capitol building is supposed to be one of the most secure buildings on the planet? Knew these protests were going on in the city, heading towards that way on the 6th, but y'all don't have the proper things in place to stop people from trying to break in. But when it's a Black Lives Matter protest in DC, you got cops out in riot gear and full with tanks ready to rock. You know what I'm saying? What happened to when the looting starts, shooting starts? Where the
Ain't no
fuck is
shooting
that
happened.
energy at?
Yeah, there was none of that.
Where is that energy?
None
You
of
know what
that.
I'm saying? So it's like it's just exhausting. And like I've really been in the last couple of days just trying to wrap my mind around it, and I can't, Mills. I can't.
I get frustrated too because, like you said, the energy is never the same when it comes to
Never.
the opposite ends of the spectrum. But I got some questions for y'all for sure. After we get to the Face of the Future song of the day, I'm gonna pose them to you about the same topic. Obviously, we won't talk about this for most of the pod, but let's get into the Face of the Future song of the day, presented by Next Big Thing Faces of the Future. Y'all can check us out on YouTube at NBT Faces of the Future. You can get all our video content. Follow us on Instagram at NBT _ the 1%, and also check us out on Twitter at NBT the Future. The Face of the Future song of the day comes from an up and coming artist out of Philadelphia. Her name's Sabrina. She's been working with one of my boys, Rado, up and coming producer from the same areas. They just released her next, not her debut single, but her second single called Stars. You can get it on all streaming platforms and check her out, Sabrina Stars. Once again, that was Sabrina Stars. You can stream her new single on all streaming platforms. So I got some questions for y'all. As we were talking about the Trump administration and fleeing and stuff like that, the first question I got is, once he's out of office, do you think he's gonna do you think he has something set up with other countries where he can just like flee there, where he can't be prosecuted or something like that?
I'm sure. For as much bread as he got, he could probably go disappear if he wanted to.
I think that just because of how he acted, I don't think any country probably outside of Russia is going to grant him any amnesty. So if you were to go to like, say like China, for example, China not going to let him stay there. They're going to find him. And I think that like he just put himself in a hole. Like the only place he could really go to is Russia, in my opinion. And even at that, just because of how Vladimir Putin is as a guy, I don't even think he's even going to let him stay there.
You don't think Putin would let him stay there?
Hell no. Unless he really pay him something or he give him like some information that's detrimental to the U.S., I think I'm not gonna let him stay there.
Which he would do. I think he definitely would give him some info.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him.
No, I wouldn't put it past him, but it's either with Vladimir Putin, it's one or two things. He could just be like, take the information, be like, I don't give a fuck, and just be like, yeah, here he is, come take him. Or he really might be like, you know what, he gave me information that's very, very vital. I'm gonna let you stay. But I'm leaning more towards he's not gonna let him stay. Just because
this man could really sabotage the whole country, bro. He could really sabotage everybody.
Yeah, he could. He's already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect anything less from Donald Trump when everything started happening. Like I just saw this coming from a mile away. And I saw this coming from all this BS happening from a mile away once the election shit started coming. And I was just like, yo, like people are really just going to look and just realize that this nigga is really, he's different. Donald Trump is a different type of dude for real.
Mm-hmm.
So his former chief of staff left him after the Capitol was stormed. His deputy national security advisor left. And his deputy press secretary resigned. And they're saying there's more people that are in Trump's cabinet that are planning on leaving after what happened. How do you think that more supporters, and not even just the Trump supporters, but people in the Republican Party are going to continue to like separate themselves from Donald Trump? Or what do you think is going to happen when it comes to that?
I think in the election, you saw a lot of his supporters flip. A lot of the voters, especially who you saw, were literally saying, I just can't vote for a guy that acts like this anymore. And the more you see his antics, the more you see his pettiness, his immature behavior, I want to call it. I think the more people that have always been Republican, have always voted Republican just because, are going to lean more towards the other direction because of him.
I think people are trying to flip because they're not trying to associate themselves with Trump anymore. I think that because they understand like at some point, hopefully we're being optimistic that, you know, he leaves he leaves office. And I think that at that point, people are now trying to separate themselves and trying to like, nah, I don't want any part of this. But it's like, to looking at it from a bigger perspective, it's like, you can't anymore. It's like, y'all supported this for 3-4 years. For what reason? Just to sit here and potentially take away abortion rights, just for you to potentially do certain things for the Democratic Party. Like you look trash. You know what I'm saying? Like on your resume, people are going to look at it as you worked under the Trump administration. Yeah, do we understand that all politicians are shady to an extent? Yeah, but people look up this shit real quick on the internet nowadays. You know what I'm saying?
And it's like, even on the Hill, it's like the Democrats are not going to give y'all any amnesty or any type of leeway because how y'all was moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all were either silent and were hella complicit, or y'all were out here acting a fool just like Donnie was. And so for me, it's like, yeah, these people are going to try to retract themselves and act like, we were on the right side of history before Trump left, but it's like, you were there for the past 4 years, or at least 2.5 years, and you chose to go and deal with that. You chose to sit here and hide the shit that he was doing. So it's like, there's nothing that they could say, even though they're going to try to retract themselves. Nothing to say or do because it's on your resume. Like, you are a federal employee. We can Google these people's names and find them online. So it's whatever to them at this point. Like, it's dubs.
And I'll say another thing, as far as like people that have like voters, like regular American citizens that have always voted Republican for no matter who the president, the candidate was. I think now morally they can't fuck with him no more. Just because more they're like, yo, I can't rock with this dude in the way that he acts. So I think that plays a part in it too.
No, I agree with that too. Like people are just like morally, because before, I mean, if people even have morals, because some of these people I feel like they have no morals when it comes to a lot of stuff. But I feel as though it's the stigma that comes with being a Trump supporter now. Like before there was a stigma, obviously, but now with this happening, it's like, if you're still on the side of what he's doing when it comes to like all the antics, chaos, and stuff that he's created over if you just want to put the last 30 days, it's crazy. But when you go down the last 4 years, it's like, all right, what's your reasoning for still being behind him when he's causing this much chaos, when he's causing this much uproar, when it's causing this much division? Even if people want to say, oh, his intentions are good, whatever it may be, it's like, how can you even get behind it? Even though we know probably it's not, the intentions are probably ill will. It's more self-serving than to serve the mass majority. So it's like, at this point in time, it's like, what can you say? How can you defend it?
Yeah.
But
I think you see a lot of people like in the media and stuff now, like you just said, get dragged for being a Trump supporter, and not even in the media or not even famous people, just get dragged, and that is now sadly is a knock against you if you're a Trump supporter in some facets, because it used to be at a point in time you didn't ask people who they voted for, who they supported. You didn't ask, you didn't talk about it. It was deemed disrespectful. You don't ask somebody what their political affiliation is or who they voted for and why. You just didn't. Now it's like, oh, you're a Trump supporter, I can't fuck with you.
Yeah.
I can't
sadly. It's sad. I mean, it shouldn't be that way, but that's what it's come to.
Yeah, that stigma is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's come to that. I think now that as time goes on, we're gonna start to really have conversations about why people support certain politicians and why. Because like, even looking at it now, just even going back to I think 2-3 weeks ago, it's like you have to look at the Democratic Party now as well. Like, why do you support Joe Biden? Why did you really vote for Joe Biden? Did you vote because you wanted we wanted Trump out of office, or because you really believe in what he's going to do? Now, if you really believe in what he's going to do, how do you expect him to do that with essentially running with a lot of people that were under the Obama administration? How do you plan on doing this by when he's trying to make a case that, oh, my cabinet is diverse, my administration is so diverse, but you're not really looking at what he has said he was going to do versus what he's doing now? Like, it's like you wanted to clear out all student debt at first. Now it's only up to $10,000. And then now it's like you're going back and forth with a lot of these different things. And it's like, it represents you as a person now as well. It's like, how do you support someone who's wishy-washy? It's like the same thing with Trump supporters. Like, how do you support somebody who can sit here and lie, create chaos, and then gaslight you as if he didn't do anything? You know what I mean? And so where my problem is, like you said, Shannon, it's just going to be a bigger conversation about politics all around, about like, why do you support this? Like, what do you want for people in America? Or what do you want to see accomplished in this country politically? And we're getting to that point. And I think that like, it's getting to a point where it's going to start getting scary, because it's like, it's already kind of started already, in my opinion, just with identity politics. And I wanted to switch the gears to talk about that because I just, man.
Explain a little bit what you mean by identity politics.
I mean, the identity politics of like, I'm a transgender Black woman, or I'm a gay Black man, or I'm an Asian bisexual who supports the Democratic Party. And I think that I think this whole number one thing is that going throughout the years, how we've become more politically divided, I think that this whole conversation that we've been having over a couple of years that we've also witnessed of us trying to separate ourselves into these sub-political genres of each other is not really that important. Because my thing is that, I'm gonna just be real messy here, just based on everything that just happened this week, Black men should have been able to go into the state capitol with those white people and they should have not been shot. Just based off of the nonsense we've heard from, say, the Black community, or say from other people where Black men have privilege, Black men are this, Black men are that. And so now when you look at these things and you see white men who are posing with the speaker podium, who's chilling in Nancy Pelosi's office, who's chilling in the cabinets and all these different places, and they didn't get touched, no tear gas, no nothing, and only one woman died, and 13 people total got arrested, right? It becomes this conversation where it's like, as a Black community, we should look at this as a problem that we're judging ourselves by subgroups in our community and not realizing that we just had a group of white people, both Black, white men and women, walk into that White House, and there were less arrests than LeBron James winning his championship for the Lakers a couple months ago. 76 people got arrested at the when the Lakers won a championship versus the 13, 14, 15, 16, whatever it was. And we're not seeing that as a problem. We're just like, oh, well, I'm still this, and I want people to not have privilege. I don't want people to have, but it's like, at the end of the day, we're comparing ourselves to the same people that just broke into the same place that you call when you have state issues, or you want people to make bills to make sure that people that look like us have equal and fair representation. That right there should show you that us sitting here having conversations about identity politics, about how Black men have privilege, or gay people have more privilege than transgender people, like all these different types of subgenres, it don't mean shit. Because I guarantee you, a transgender white man was probably in there wreaking havoc, just like a gay man was. And they didn't give a fuck. And we have to start looking at it like that as a Black community. Because if we don't, it's gonna be even bigger problems for us.
So you're saying pretty much, based off of like what I gathered off of what you were just saying, is that that our focus within the Black community, because that's what you're directing your sentiments towards, we should be less focused on comparing ourselves to a group of people that obviously have way more privilege than us, and stop trying to break ourselves down and compare ourselves to them. We're saying one person, like, because obviously you're referring back to that room that was talked about in Clubhouse when it came to Black men or the white men of the Black community, whatever it may be. That's what you're referring to. So with that, you're saying people in our community should be less worried about the division and trying to make subcategories and be focused on the bigger issue at hand, which is what, in your opinion?
The biggest issue should be us trying to sit here and give us economic, political, and just creative empowerment. We we've been here since 1964. There have been steps made for the Black community. I don't deny that. But where I still look at it as, politically, we still don't have the representation we need just as African Americans, right? Financially, we're still not even in a great place. Part of that has to do with our dating standards, marriages, and how everything goes out in the Black community. That is a big role as well, and just even business and creatively, we're still being controlled by these same white people that run the biggest corporations in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and we're just so focused on trying to say said subgroup of the Black community has privilege, or this type of people have more privilege than us, and I want to be able to feel like I can do this and do that. It's like, it shouldn't matter anymore. We need to focus on what is the moves that we need to make in order for us to be an economic, political, and basically creative powerhouse in the world. And we're not focused on that here. We're focused on trying to stroke our egos and trying to project our bitterness onto one another. And that's part of the reason why, like, those white people went and did what the fuck they did, and nobody gave a fuck. They started cleaning right after.
That's true. How you feel about that, Sam? What do you
I agree. I don't think I need to say much more on that. I agree.
Yeah, like there's not much more to be said when it comes to that. You aren't wrong because, like you said, the last part you just said about them storming and then just next day people just cleaning up and there's not much more talked about or said about. It's kind of like crazy to me. And then the thing that stuck out too is the amount of arrests. All those people that stormed in that joint, and now there's only 13 people that are arrested. And they probably only gonna get charged that crazy when it came to it.
How? It's the United States Capitol building. Again, for motherfuckers that don't understand, this is where the powers that be in this country come to make laws. And you know how much fucking security is around DC, right? We all know because we've all been there.
Exactly.
Right? I give you an example that I told the homie Junius, and we were talking about it. The last time we went down to DC, we parked at the Ronald Reagan building. It's a little parking lot, underground parking lot there, about 2 blocks away. When we get to this motherfucking parking garage, you got people banging on our cars to make sure it's hollow. We got my girl's purse getting searched. We got me getting patted down and all of that, but y'all don't have enough security 2 blocks away at the Capitol building of the United States to hold out protesters. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. And that's why that's why it's just so weird to me that it's like, what do we really pay attention to? And it's like, it goes back to just not even just about African Americans. It's just people in America. It's like, what do we really want? You know what I mean? Because it's like, we look at the situation of, we just saw 10,000 people break into the state capitol. You know, we made jokes about it, which is cool. That's, you know, that's how we mask our pain nowadays, or we mask our fears or whatever. It's cool, but it's like, we kind of just went back to normal. And it's like, so it's like, what do y'all really want? It's like, you want the freedom that you guys complain about so much? If you do, why is it that you had some of your state legislators for some of your states go in that same place and make a mockery and fool of all of what they swore themselves into doing, right? Because clearly they don't care. And since we voted y'all in, they clearly don't care about you. So for the people who complain about, oh, we want equal representation, we want this, like the AOCs of the world, the Bernie Sanders, even just the common people that are like us, it's like, what do you want? Do you really want a place where you can feel like you can walk somewhere, you can feel safe, you can feel like you can talk to whoever, there's no racism, everybody has a free meal, like some socialistic ideas are enacted so everybody can get a fair share of the table? Or do you just want to feel okay for yourself? Because it's like, at the end of the day, these white people, they're going to be all right. But we're going to have to sit here and continue to sit here and, how do I say this? We have to sit here and feed the egos of these politicians. We have to feed the egos of the same people that just basically do whatever they want. And it's like, what do we want? Do we really want equal representation? Because if we do, us just sitting back and making jokes about it is not going to be the case. If we want equal representation, us sitting here just saying, okay, yeah, this happened. Oh, I wonder what happens to Black people or Asian people. That's not going to cut it. We need to start building our fortress, our kingdom, our own shit. So that's why these people can't do nothing to us. And it don't seem like, in my opinion, a lot of people really looking at it like that.
They're not. They're looking at it a point the finger type thing instead of, all right, how can we change what happens? In my opinion, I feel as though like when stuff like this happens, it's like, oh, they didn't do this for us. They didn't, like, what did you expect? Did you expect them to be treated the same as we were treated? Did you expect, like, obviously you didn't. So I don't know. That's why I'm saying, sometimes I say like, I'm not surprised, but it's like, it's still crazy. It's still like, you know what I'm saying? It is, we still have our feelings towards what happened, but it's like, did you
the world we live in?
Yeah. Did you expect anything different? And then if you didn't expect anything different, why haven't we made strides to necessarily change not even just the narrative, but just the way things are handled in general, the way things operate. You know what I'm saying? So
it was crazy. You know, you said, you know, what did you expect any different? I can't remember that night. You know, they put a curfew in effect at 6:00, right? So at 5 I'm watching the news, right? I'm like, I want to see what's going to happen here in 5 minutes when this curfew goes into effect, because there's still people out here in front of the Capitol building. Are they going to start telling motherfuckers it's time to go home before you get maced and before you get all that shit? Is that what's going to happen? And it didn't. It didn't happen at all. I'm like, yo, what do you expect? You know, I expect nothing less. You know what I mean? And it just sucks. It just sucks because you see like protesters in our own city of Philadelphia get maced, get tear gas thrown at them, get into full-on fights with the cops. But you got people sitting at the United States Capitol building after they just stormed it, still out there chilling, and y'all do nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And the next thing I want to get into, well, the final thing when it comes to this, because Toby brought up dictatorship, is the social media thing. I sent it to you guys before we hopped on about, I think it was it Carrie Hilson or Carrie Rowland, one of the two. I forget who it was. They were talking about how we as citizens should be worried about social media platforms and big organizations that limit our freedom of speech, taking it away and suspending our accounts. And that's another sign that not that our country is going towards a dictatorship, because these big corporations have the ability to silence people that maybe potentially be telling the truth, and allow people on their platforms to spew misinformation. What are y'all thoughts on that?
I
Go ahead,
think Carrie
Toby, because I
Hilson
know you cooking up something over there, man. Go ahead.
I think Carrie Hilson should shut the fuck up. Honestly, like, shut the fuck up. Like, yo, this is okay. So, I get her point, but just shut up. Like, my problem with this point is that, like, people talk about freedom of speech and they don't even know the goddamn Constitution. It's like the Constitution says no public, no state entity should be able to infringe upon your freedom of speech. I'm just paraphrasing and freestyling. So my thing is anything that's not state regulated, anything that's privately owned, they can pretty much tell you to do or say whatever you want. You know what I mean? And these are all private companies. So you're not about to sit here and complain like, oh my gosh, they're infringing on our freedom. Like, you never had freedom of speech once you enter a private entity. Like, if you enter my house and you disrespect black people, I'm kicking you the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's my house. You don't have freedom of speech unless, say, for example, you're at the Capitol building. You can say something disrespectful to an extent, and it's like, and that's why when people say some of these things, it makes me upset. One, because it's like you're not understanding what the Constitution means by that. Everybody says freedom of speech, but it's like there's a reason why there's certain things you can't say in certain instances. That's number one. Number two, this goes back to my whole thing of tolerance, right? And so my biggest thing is that it goes back, like, when it comes to tolerance, we can't tolerate things that are not tolerable, like promoting riots, promoting violence, promoting racism. All these different types of things should not be tolerated, because once you tolerate things that shouldn't be tolerated, what ends up happening is that the things that are not tolerated are not going to tolerate you. Like, think about it. All these Trump supporters do not give a fuck about Black Lives Matter. They made Blue Lives Matter, Red Lives Matter, All Lives Matter. All these different people, they came out, they was attacking people, inciting riots. They were in Philly, beating up reporters, all those different types of things. So it's like these people that we're tolerating as the Democrats or the people that, want to show love and peace, they don't care. And this goes back to my whole thing about, like, concept of dictatorship. It's like, that's how dictatorships start. We're tolerating someone else's point of view that we shouldn't be tolerating. Y'all sat here in Germany and y'all tolerated Hitler talking about, oh, it's the Jews' fault that Germany's like this, knowing damn well it wasn't. And then what happened? You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, looking at it here, it's the exact mirror effect where it's like, oh, this is the Democrats' fault. This is Black Lives Matter's fault. This is the transgender people's fault. This is this, and this. And you're doing these things. And us as the people that are just observing this, we're tolerating this. And then once we're at a point where it's like, damn, now they're just shooting random they're shooting random Black people in the streets again. Oh, they're lynching people. They just hung up a cross in front of the Capitol building. So it's going to stop them from doing other shit. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, Carrie Hilson, please shut the fuck up. And I mean that disrespectfully, because it's like, these things we're saying these things, and it's like, we're watching this, and they're doing things that are not tolerable in our country, and they will be the first to kill you. They don't care. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, why I say this is that us as people that are tolerating things, in order for us to have a good place and have tolerance, we need to not tolerate things that are not tolerable. If not, the things that are not tolerable are not going to tolerate tolerable. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. It sounds like we're speaking from like a Bible passage or whatever. Basically what I'm saying is that just don't let shit that shouldn't be happening, don't let that shit happen. Because if you do, bigger shit happens, essentially. And that's why I think Carrie Hilson should just shut her damn mouth, please.
Like,
it's his own fault. It's his own fault that he's banned from Twitter and all. It's his own fault. He has nobody to blame for that but himself.
Exactly.
So, and like you said,
all the social platforms, supposedly.
Right, and like you said, with the freedom of speech thing, there is no freedom of speech on Twitter. They can have whoever the fuck they want to have on our platform. It's up to them. So
that's a fact. But that's all I got for today on the Capitol and what's happening in our country in general. Tobe, I hope you living life out there. I know we don't expect
I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back.
Shit. I mean, y'all had anything else for this pod for today?
Nah, shout out to what you got, Shane?
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say shout out to Tom Brady. My nigga Brady, did his thing. Shout out to the Bills. The Bills did their thing, So I mean, shout outs to them. Shout out to my man's Beans, rest in peace. Shout outs to all my homies, Joe, Alan. Shout outs to everybody over there. Shout out to my man's, Benji, my man's Jerry, all them. I know you was in Philly the other day, so I couldn't make it to the funeral, but shout outs to all y'all. Rest in peace to Beans. That's been my man's. I didn't get to say my piece, but that's somebody that that's been my nigga since, you know what I'm saying? He used to come up to Rutgers, we used to make these moves together, we done a bunch of dumb shit together. I appreciate all the shit that Beans has done for me. We had a one real last talk conversation when things weren't going the best for me. And, essentially he was just just keep doing what you're doing. Cause it sucks, but going to another type of lifestyle that you're not really ready for is never ever really the case for you. It's never been the case, and I always will remember that about him. He knew what it was for everybody, and he's always been the life of the party. He's always been somebody that he always was like a comic relief for niggas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's for sure.
I really, really appreciated all the memories that I had with him because we got a lot. This nigga's such a clown, but. Anyways, just shout outs to him, shout outs to everybody that was over there yesterday. Love y'all niggas, man, and just nigga watching over us. We getting lit for your birthday, no cap. So
yeah, man, I echo those same sentiments. R.I.P. to Beans, man. He was definitely the life of the party, and just good vibes. Just definitely good vibes.
Yeah, every time.
Only other thing I got to say for me to close it out, Mills, you know what tomorrow is.
It's tomorrow, bro.
Chase already hit me up. Chase said we not friends at 12 a.m. I said may the best team win. Ohio State Bama tomorrow. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm going Roll Tide.
Who's not going Roll Tide?
You said what?
Me.
I'm sorry to hear that, Shannon.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
The thing is, I'm Roll Tide, but like I said, it won't be shocking if they pull out a victory. But I think Bama's gonna win though.
Yeah.
You feel me? I think Bama's going to win it. But if Justin Fields play like he did last game, it's going to be 4-quarter battle.
We'll see what happens. But like we said, this is episode 50 of the Faces of the Future podcast. Is the end of season 5. Yep.
You feel me? With the guys. Crazy, another season done already. You're saying we've been pushing out content like crazy. You feel me? And we're gonna come back next season even bigger and better. So y'all gonna hear from us soon. We don't know exact date we coming back, but we're gonna come back soon. We'll take a little break, and we're gonna keep pushing this content out every Monday for y'all, man. Like I said, episode 50 of the Faces of the Future podcast.
Peace from me and Leo. It's your boy Shane and Leo. Peace.
It's your boy Moose.
Island Moose. You know what I'm saying?
We out.
Peace. I'll let you.
Peace.